I saw a post on TikTok from Unfiltered Tree Sap, and she said that she loves how it's on a random day that women decide that they've had enough. And I love that statement because it coincides with something that you hear men say a lot. The breakup just came out of nowhere. It just came out of nowhere. And I also wanted to tie it to a movie that I think was beautifully done and I think illustrates this point amazingly well. What's Love Got to Do with It? So there's a scene in What's Love Got to Do with It when Tina Turner was meditating and she's going through her chants, Nom Yoho Rangekyo, Nom, and she's saying it over and over again. And she's about to go on stage and she's meditating while Ike is napping. And for some reason during this particular meditation, which she's done for a long time at this point, she looks at herself in the mirror and she's got blood all over her face and, a black eye, her clothes are torn. She looks like she's been through what she's been through, being mistreated, being abused. And for the first time, she really sees herself. She really sees the situation that she's in. She has an epiphany. She has a sudden moment of clarity. And she gets up and she runs and doesn't look back. And it wasn't that there wasn't 50 million other times that she could have left. It wasn't that there wasn't 50 million other reasons that she could have left. It was that at that one moment, her instinct spoke to her, her conscience spoke to her, her spirit, whatever it was, she had that moment of clarity, that epiphany, and she had the will to act on it at that moment. And she did. And I think that some men think that that moment of clarity, that moment of will, that moment that breaks through all the patterns and the habits and the what ifs and the fear, they think that moment's never going to come. They think that everything's just going to continue in the pattern that it's been in. And that moment of breakthrough, that moment of clarity, that epiphany is never going to come. But for a lot of women, it does come. I remember when I was married the first time, I had been married for, 5 years, going on 6 years at the time. And that was an abusive marriage. My ex did put his hands on me. We physically fought a couple of times. He went to jail a few times. I mean, by the time he left, his rap sheet was about 10 pages long, and he had a felony behind abusive behavior. He had broken things. He had lost jobs. In fact, he couldn't keep a job more than 6 months. But I had stayed during all of this, even though he cheated on me and called me out of my name and all this stuff. I'd stayed during all of this because I believed in my vows. And I believed that it was till death do us part. And I believed I didn't want to be a failure. That was the mindset in my mind. I wanted my kids to have a father in the home. I had all of these reasons to stay. And I remember there was one day when I was trying to get us to go to therapy because I did not want my kids growing up in this kind of home where we were fighting constantly and there was abuse. And even though he had stopped physically being abusive because of being sent to jail more than once, I didn't want my kids growing up in this environment. So I was trying to get him to go to therapy with me. And he was refusing. He was refusing. I was going to therapy, but he was refusing to join me. And he said, I'm a great husband. I know I can't keep a job and I break things and I call you out of your name, but I'm a great husband. And it was at that moment that my moment of clarity came. And I was not one to really argue. I still am not one to really argue, but I spent 2 hours listing all the ways he was not a great husband. And I had never done that before. I had never called him out on every single thing that he had ever done in our marriage that was not what he should have done. And that night, when I woke up the next morning, I started taking his things out of the closet and piling them in the living room. And I said, I don't care where you go, but you cannot stay here. We're done. I don't want to spend another night in the same house with you. That was my moment of clarity. That one sentence that he said. And in that moment, I realized that his standards were so low. It didn't matter what I wanted, what I expected, what I felt I deserved. His standards for himself were so low that he could literally contradict himself in that statement and give 3 reasons why he was not a great husband and still say, in spite of those things, he was a great husband. And I remember in my second marriage, my kids had just started high school, and I had taken them out to eat after, I think it was a football game. We were in the Black Eyed Peas, and one of my sons said, "Oh, Mom, we're going to graduate in less than 4 years, and, we don't expect you and Andrew to be together when we leave, because you guys only talk about the house, the cars, the bills, and us. You have no relationship. You guys don't even hardly touch or look at each other." And it was such a clear statement. I went home and I told my husband at that time, I said, you know what? They expect us to get divorced. And they're right. We have no relationship. We are partners in the sense of raising them and in the sense of taking care of this house, but we're not romantic partners. We're roommates. We're roommates. And I told my husband, I said, I don't want us to be roommates. I'm going to ask you for 2 things. I'm going to make it really simple. Take me out once a month to rekindle our romantic side of our relationship and get tested. See why, you're having these ED problems. See why, we can't really have our normal intimacy. And he told me, you won't leave me. You're too family oriented. And I told him, you got 4 years. When they walk across the stage, if you haven't done those 2 things, I expect you to pack your bags and leave. I'm going to give you 4 years. I'm going to give you till they walk across the stage. And he ignored me. So we ended up getting divorced. But again, a random day. I couldn't tell you what day it was when that conversation happened in Black Eyed Peas. It wasn't Christmas. It wasn't Thanksgiving. It wasn't some other special day. It was just a random day when a statement was made that made me see things with absolute, complete, and total clarity. And I think that is powerful. Like she said, it's just a random day when a woman decides she's had enough and she decides to walk away. What are your thoughts on that? May you walk in Zenergy.